Peace and much love, and welcome to another edition of the Awakened Dreamer Summit. I have the pleasure of being joined today by Jennifer Claroscura. And so welcome, Jennifer. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Amaketuru. Thank you for inviting me.
You're so welcome. And Jennifer is an amazing dream walker, podcast deliverer, and dreamer of the world. And I've been opening up these sessions with the same question for every dreamer here, which is, why do you feel that dreaming is important?
Well, I guess that is a very personal mission that I am willing to share, and that is to bring the dream language, which I consider to be the original language of our soul, back into society.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's in a nutshell the foundation of my work.
Yeah. And why do you feel that this dream practice or the dream language, why do you feel that it hasn't been a more integral part of society?
I am not quite sure at what point it fragmented or it evolved into this sort of surface, one word for everybody, because that's what language is. It's everybody describes everything the way the dictionaries or school teaches you. And at some point, I guess it's the intuition, the intuitive level and the symbolism. It's no longer a part of how we speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what do you feel happens, culturally when we don't have dreams as part of the symbolic language of our culture? Like, how do you feel that affects us as a culture?
I think it's a massive division because I have been very active in the dream world, and I get a lot of visits. It began with me getting a lot of visits from the dreamer counterpart of people, coming to me and saying, please tell my waking reality persona that I exist.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I guess, you know how mediums describe when people on the other side are very persistent with a message.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with me, it's like people's dream personas are very persistent with their message, and they would not leave me alone. Mm-hmm. And I decided, you know what, why are they coming to me? They should come to themselves, Mm-hmm. So how can I make people aware that they have so much more mm-hmm. existent, like their being is not just this, it's a multidimensional being that is existing in so many realms simultaneously, and they have access to this. So I was like, I'm not going to be always the deliverer of message. They should learn to listen to themselves, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like, what's that proverb? Like, teach someone to fish and they can eat for a day, but teach them how to fish and they can eat for life.
Exactly. And how are you supposed to bring it into society if you're just, doing it for them? Exactly. Mm-hmm. And lead by example. It's not like I want to really share every intimate detail of my dreams with everybody, but there's no other way to keep it in the subconscious waking reality than to share. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn to come out of my antisocial bubble and put myself out there, and remind people that there's something to remember. There's something to remember inside.
Mm-hmm. I can relate with that too. That feeling of like, not wanting to share every detail of every dream. There are dreams that are personal and private in nature and need that safe container to sort of simmer. And when we share them with others, the projections of others and their meaning can change the meaning for us. And so that they are precious in that way of, there's a sense of knowing when it's appropriate to share and receive insights from others and when not to. Like, how do you find that discernment for yourself of like when to share a dream with someone else and when it's more personal?
For me, it's about what you call personal dreams. For me, it's like it's put in, if I guess if you would talk about it like a computer, in a folder for processing, or when you upload a video, it's processing. For me, it's like, I'm processing this dream. I can't share it right now because I am integrating with it. I'm applying it, and also my fears and shadows are involved. Maybe I don't want to throw that out at that point, until I have some kind of a resolution with it, so that it's not just like blah, like take that.
Yeah, I think that's really key because I'm learning how to find that balance of being so excited about being in tune with my dreams that I want to share it with everybody, and I want to encourage others to share their dreams with people. But there is that discernment where, like you said, it's like some dreams are still processing. They're still needing time to unfold without the projections of others.
Yeah, like untainted territory. It's just you, your soul, your guides, your path. It's your path. Yeah.
So how do you know, like, when a dream is appropriate to share with other people? Like, how are you able to discern when it's a dream that would be beneficial to share with the community?
Because I start to write every dream as if I'm going to share it. And in the process of writing it, I'm like, oh, when you write, sometimes really stuff starts to come out, like a sort of channeling mode, and you start doing the dream work. And you just stop yourself and, copy paste that into a different Word document for the moment. Like, sorry, Facebook, this is not for you today,
Yeah.
But I start everything with wanting to share it. And through the process, I realized no.
Yeah. I also wonder, like, for you, how do you discern between a visitation dream when you're meeting with someone's dream or body versus a dream where maybe you're visiting more with an archetype or someone who's symbolizing something to you personally? Like, how do you tend to find the difference?
This has been through trial and error, because when I would receive visitations, I would try to I wouldn't do anything at first, but then my husband started to say, why don't you ask the person and see if anything clicks? And I started to, be the weirdo that says, hey, I had a dream about you, but it would freak people out. So I stopped doing that, even though it was real. I did get the confirmation, but they were like, where are you having access to me, so I started to, if the dreamer really, really needed something honestly and, authentically, I would do it without telling a person. I would just befriend them, start the dialogue, do my work behind the scenes in the dream energetically, because I don't have access to the person if the person really didn't want me to. It is actually a soul, how would you call it? Like a permission that they're giving me. But the conscious mind is never going to have a memory of this. So I almost felt like a ambassador of these dreaming, personas, trying to introduce them into bridge them into this world that they've been, banished from. It's almost like that's what it feels like. And then through that process also, because I do have the ability to connect with people from the other side, I started to tell the difference between when it has been a person who passed versus a dream persona of a person. And I know when a journey is beginning. I know the climate of the dream, how it's presented to me by my guides. It's these small details that resonate with my inner knowing and intuition, once again, and my soul, that have been able to, through the years, over 35 years of dreaming this way, to really, the nuances, the small details, those things begin to clarify.
Yeah.
But I understand the confusion for a person who's just beginning. I hear that a lot. Like, how do I know if it's my guide and not an imposter? And I know, because I know how imposters feel like.
Yeah.
But you won't know that until you've been through the real thing. When you're in front of a real guide and real, like a divine sacred connection. It's different.
Yeah, it just takes like attuning our sensitivity and having some experience and perhaps being willing to go out of our comfort zone and communicate with others who we dream with, and being willing to look weird sometimes, because it's actually a very normal function. It's just that some of us, that switch has been turned off.
Definitely.
I wonder, like, for those who are watching who feel like maybe they're someone whose switch is turned off, how would you recommend turning that switch on of that dreamer self, or becoming more attuned with our dream abilities?
Well, there's a few layers to it in the way I've worked with it, and it's number one, get familiar with dreaming awake. Don't try to just fly into the dream and try to remember, write your journal, all that stuff, but get familiar with the breaking down regular language, seeing symbolically, understanding symbolism, and meditation for intuition, a lot of inner work, a lot of outer work. And eventually I created a sort of like a journey into the unconscious, because I studied hypnotherapy, and I thought, why don't I use what I studied to create a journey where a person goes, meets their dreamer, and brings them back. So that's kind of like just the backup to everything else that I'm saying. So I to reinforce it. I guess that's why I made it, to reinforce it.
So yeah, I'm hearing like starting to look at waking life as being symbolic in nature, like the waking dream, and attuning ourselves to the synchronicities of life when we're awake, and seeing the symbolic nature of the synchronicities that present themselves, and then also like actively dreaming while we're awake, whether that's guided visualization or through hypnotherapy, or through meditation, to start to recognize and activate that inner world, the inner universe, and navigate that while we're awake, so that when we sleep, we've exercised those muscles and we can recognize those symbols and synchronicities occurring also in the dream time.
I guess you could call it rehearsal.
Yeah.
If you're a musician, you rehearse to get better at music, so you don't have to think about that when you're in the dream anymore. It'll be like natural and second nature, because it's just who you've become. You've become a person who understands symbolism, magic, nature, elements, and your spirit guide is not only in a dream. They're also in waking reality. So you might feel like a fool trying to speak to your guides in waking reality, but that's what I did. I did something really funny. When I was a teenager, I would sit down in a cafe and give the seat in front of me to my spirit guide. It was my way of saying, I am inviting you to my crazy world. Like, I am not going to be ashamed of admitting that you're here just because I can't see you. And I was a teen, and, I was very intense back then, and I would just do things. I didn't care if people saw me talking to myself. So I think I invited it. I was like, bring it on.
I love that. And I love how, there's no separation between our dreamer body when we're dreaming and our dreamer body when we're awake. It's always ever present. So there's idea of like, oh, that's only, my dreamer body's only active when I'm sleeping, limits our ability to be in communication with that same soul aspect in our waking life, which to me is what it's really all about in some ways. I mean, being able to be more and more in tune with my soul when I'm awake, which is also what this summit is about. It's like, how do we apply this amazing medicine in our relationship with our sleeping dreams into waking life to enrich our lives for the better and enrich each other's life? So I wonder for you, like, how has your dream practice benefited your waking life experience and also your service to others?
It has been a work of what's going to be a work of a lifetime for me. It's a path. It's like if you would ask somebody what is their religion, I guess dreaming would be mine. It is connected to faith, soul, and at the same time, it's connected to my psyche, like how I navigate my waking reality and my fears and my peers, and it teaches me about my health and teaches me how to transcend my shadow in some ways, how to bring out my light, how to appreciate that I am the whole, light and dark. It's never ending, and it goes even deeper. It goes even deeper into like the lucidity of as a philosophy in life, like and at the same time, you know, alchemically, like what's it doing to my soul? How is it evolving with this knowledge that you can download and activate into waking reality?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Has there been like a specific dream experience that you've had that's been really significant for you, that sort of represents some of what we're talking about, where like you've had a specific dream and brought that back here and it's really benefited your life personally or for others?
I've had so many like this, but the first ones that made a difference for me was I had a fear of heights. I mean, if we're thinking practical, I had a fear of heights, and I asked for help for my dream, and I was not expecting what happened. It was, I would go to sleep, and suddenly in the dream I would be floating in the sky. No, falling to the ground, but I had a rope around me. So I would stop 1 millimeter from the ground always, you know, before I hit the ground. This happened every night for weeks until after a few nights, I would just be like waiting for the moment that I would hit the floor, not hit the floor. I knew I wasn't going to hit the floor. So I would just be like, you know, falling, and be like, I know what happens, you know. So eventually I was able to not care that I was falling. You know, it got to that point where it was so over and over and over again and that helped me a lot. Health wise, you know, recently I had a dream about, I had an inflammation issue in my knees or in my back, and I've had it for a while. And I was really like, what can I do? You know, it flares up like once a month, and it leaves me like not able to do much when it does. And I dreamt that the whole table was filled with food that looked like green beans, and it was delicious, but it was small portions, and it was like everywhere. And my family was like, ew, that's so dry, and it's like small portions. And I was getting affected by what they were saying, trying to view the food through their eyes. And then this man just came and said, gluten. I was like, wait, everything here does look gluten free, you know? So I read up on gluten and how it inflammates joints and causes all this, you know, disruption with the nerves and weakness in the muscles. And I was like, whoa, okay. So this was the day before yesterday, and I'm right now going into a gluten-free way of eating, but it's a process. But I'm already almost like 80% gluten-free. There's just some things I got to figure out, like.
Yeah.
But I know it can't be overnight. But I feel better.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I love the part where he's like, gluten.
Yeah, it was like so obvious, like, hello.
Yeah, and it reminds me how, you know, we can receive these messages or keys into what we can do from our dreams to help benefit our health. And then it's up to us to also take the action to respond and to listen to those dreams. And sometimes it's obvious, like gluten, you know, and other times it might come in more subtly, and there can be some more research or action we take to uncover what those symbols mean to us.
Definitely.
But that's such a great example of ways that our dreams can really benefit our waking lives, our physical health, our facing our fears and learning how to be with our fears and sort of rehearse possible outcomes of those fears coming true, and then learn how to make peace with that too, so that we don't walk in fear. We do take care of our health. We are more in tune with our soul's inner knowing. And so it's such great examples of why it's important to be in touch with our dreams. Yeah.
And especially if you have a couple, if you're in a relationship that understands the importance of dreams. My husband and I have dreams where we dream of each other's shadow, like what it's about to do. It's almost precognitive. And then we warn each other, like, you know, I had this dream and I know what his shadow looks like. It already has, like, I can understand when it's not him, but that persona that struggles with me. Because I'm kind of like a big fat mirror, I guess, to it. And but I've learned so much from his shadow and he's learned from mine. So the dream can also help you to grow as a couple.
Totally.
As well as individually, of course.
Yeah, I feel that in my partnership as well. Like, it gives us a reference to talk about difficult aspects of our relationship also through speaking symbolically about it. Like, I recently had a dream where my partner was like on this obstacle course and wanted me to cross this bridge, you know, into this space with many obstacles, and I didn't want to cross the bridge. Like, to the left of me was like this Christmas village with like hot chocolate and like happy people. And I'm like, I just want to go over there and like drink hot cocoa in the Christmas.
Oh my God.
Oh, but you have to cross the bridge. I'm like, no. And so I woke up and told him this dream, but through that we were able to process some of the dynamics in our relationship around my willingness to face some of the obstacles ahead for us, and, you know, how he felt about me wanting to just sort of drink hot cocoa and be what's easy. And it gave us this language to talk about something where if we didn't have those symbols, it would be more difficult to communicate about it. So it can be a great way to show us like where our relationships are and how we feel about them, and be able to communicate them in a really creative, playful way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do, to communicate with him and talk about dreams.
That's so awesome. So I wonder, like, what are some of your projects right now as far as like supporting people with their dreams or talking about the dream world? Like, what are you up to, and how can our viewers get in touch with your work?
Well, I am a mother, and recently, like 3 years ago. So the way that I would do things has changed because I don't have that much time that I used to. I used to do webinars and all these things, and I'll probably get back to it when my kid is probably 5. I'm thinking, when am I going to have time, you know? But for now, I think recording my podcast has been a way in which is making a big difference, because it's on iTunes and you don't really see who's listening on iTunes. But I'm getting emails all of a sudden from people who would never have found me on Facebook or Instagram, you know? And yeah, I feel like it's helping me to communicate in a whole different way than video. I used to do a lot of videos, and I'm able to just tune into the message without the distractions of, you know, my hair and whatever. And yeah, not everybody watches YouTubes. So it's you know, it's kind of evolved since. I guess what I'm saying is that I'm in the beginning of a new way of communicating what I do. I guess mentoring indirectly, and yeah, continuing to just keep it alive. You know, my project, I guess you could say, where I do everything dream related, is in Dream Pioneers. And through Jennifer Claroscura, which is me, I just you know, just post everything that happens in life and dreams. But Dream Pioneers is where I focus. It's where I focus, you know, like you in Dream Council. It's where you nourish that, and I guess it's reaching people. So I'm happy and I don't just do it for today, I do it for the future. That might sound really cheesy, but yeah, I feel like the more I put out there, the more it will be available for when people start to wake up and figure, start Googling, dream work, dream, lucid dream, whatever. I want this to be there. So what you're doing, what a lot of people in the dreaming circle are doing, the ones that are creating content, I'm very appreciative of what they're doing. You take the time every week to do your I guess a teleseminar or telewebinar. And I know, as a person who's arranged things like that before, it's not easy. You show up energetically and you're leading the group, and it's things that I'm not able to do anymore at the moment. But I'm happy
to take one for the team.
Yeah, that's why I love what you do, and I love like my other friends who do this, because I'm like, I am right now at the playground.
Yeah.
In the sandbox with my son. So yay, you guys are doing this.
Yeah, and you're doing crucial work as a mother too, and nurturing your child from the get-go to be a dreamer on the planet today. And it's amazing. I'm grateful that you're still making your podcast and doing what you can. And Dream Pioneers, I really enjoy your podcast, and just
thank you.
Feel that kinship of like, that we are on this wider team, this network and community of those who are feeling a similar call to create this content, to bring this message to the world, and those who feel called to it through these different avenues to awaken their dreamer self, that we're bringing back the dream culture for this world and for our future generations, because it's so crucial. And so I thank you for answering that call as well, and for sharing your insight and your gifts with us in the community. It's really helpful, and I feel like we all have such a unique style and unique message to share, and we're all like puzzle pieces that are fitting this greater puzzle, this bigger message. So I really encourage our viewers also, if you feel the call as a dreamer to host a dream group or create content about your dreams, I really encourage you to do that and join our team.
Please do. There's, it's nice to listen once in a while. You join a group and you're the spectator, but create content, nobody will have your unique perspective. Nobody will dream like you. Nobody will express it like you. Start to find the way to do it yourself. And also, support other leaders in the dream community that are doing the groups. And I used to be able to collaborate more. I had a playlist on my YouTube channel called Lucid Talks, which is this kind of like what we're doing, and I interviewed a lot of teachers. I want to get back into that, but right now video takes so long. You edit it, and it turns into a week. Podcast is so easy. I could be in my pajamas and do it in 20 minutes and it's out. No editing.
I feel that. Yeah, it's nice to do the stuff that's not video, because there is a lot more just energy in showing face. So it's a balance, I definitely can feel you in that. But I appreciate you coming on this video and sharing your time and energy and wisdom with us. And I really encourage our viewers to touch base with Dream Pioneers and listen to the podcast and share it, and to just, help support our ally here. So I
thank you so much, my kid.
Okay, and so it is.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really great to connect with you. Rarely do we get to connect like one-on-one and not in group.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.